Hey everyone, I'm so glad to welcome Carolina today as a return collaborator. This is such an important subject, especially given what we've been going through the last few days. I know Carolina has a few words to say. Uh, just all I can say is we're in this together, and these sessions continue to inspire and bring us together. As usual, we'll be kind to each other. We will take turns, make sure everyone is heard. Autistic voices first. This is an autistic positive place. Couple small things. If you aren't speaking, if you could make sure you're on mute, that's helpful for those of us with an auditory processing challenge. If you want to have someone read what you write in the chat, just write read before your comment or question. And yeah, and when we have Q&A, raise your hand either in the frame or using the icon under the reactions button. And with that, I'll turn it over.
Good afternoon, good evening, guten Tag to everyone here. To all y'all from Yale, from the other side of the world, here in the United States, here in Bullitt County, Kentucky. I greet you all. I'm Carolina Rutz. I'm openly autistic um and I am a very religious spiritual person. I also am a a person that has took courses in history, got a master's and a BA in history. These are very difficult times for all of us autistic people. For many centuries, we've been institutionalized. For many years, we've been put away in attics, put away, being brought out as billish idiots. Some of us even went and became nuns and religious fools for Christ throughout the years. Today we have a more wonderful understanding. I'm very grateful for that, for this beautiful understanding that in modern medicine, science, and we don't need to check our brain at the door. Thank God for that. But however, we're still facing the same old shit for centuries, and I'll tell you this, we will never we will always will face it at every generation. We will always face this challenge. And and this is why I do this. As a spiritual person, I want you to be in tune with your spiritual side during this time. I want you to reach in and basically be in tune, be in contact with your God, with your universe, with whatever power you could understand. Uh, that strength will help us through the tough times together. It is that spiritual well in us, in each of us, that we both, all of us have this ability that separates us animals from human, this spiritual side. Of course, there's up to our debate. However, we have this this inner part of us. John F. R.F. Kennedy will never take that spiritual aspect away. We're human. End of debate. We have infinite word. We have infinite worth, each of us. Not because of a bureaucrat, not because of what we do. Our humanity is not, or our worth as humans is not dictated by whether or not we can wipe our butts, or whether or not we can date, or whether or not we can own a business and drive a car and take part in the workforce in a capitalistic work system. To quote the Fight Club author, we're not our effing cockies. We're more than jobs. We're more than cogs. We're spiritual beings. We are created. We have and like the created one, the uncreated source of life. We have the capability of expressing love, devotion, praise. Our joy will sustain us. And I want you. Joy is a secret of resistance. And today we're going to talk about the five senses. The five senses we're going to employ. What I employ in personal devotion. So I'm going to get out my program, get out your notebooks, write your notes. This is going to be a little workshop, a little rant, a little diversion. This is going to be a very intimate setting. You can see here we have our lights, my little doll, this over here, my Kentucky Derby stuff. Basically everything in my bedroom is my office. I eat there. I just had a bagel, but right now we're going to relax, intimate, and feel free to comment. I may look at it. I may not look at it. I might be in my divergent. So, and with that, here's a disclaimer. I come from an Anglican tradition, Episcopal. I have Catholic, Lutheran, Pentecostal background, so I have that. Um, my intention is not to apologize, but to present ways one can explore your spirituality freely. I want you I found what works out for me, and I want you to share, to try it for yourself in your practices, so you could be a better character, so you could be a better person, so you could be in tune with God's love, with the love of the universe, the love of each other. If you can, and I'm more than happy to dump various aspects of my belief, but this is for you. If anything, I think that several of us will notice some similar things or instances in their faith journeys. If anyone wants to suggest a research from their tradition, free to share. Hey Google, play Census Working Overtime by XTC.
Got it. Census Working Overtime by XTC. Playing on YouTube Music.
This is a beautiful song by in the 80s. Hey Google, volume 7. Hey Google, volume 10. Bless it. If you ever chance to listen to Census Working Overtime by XTC, you should do that, because I want to set the tone. This song is kind of medieval in its lyrics. And we are sensory creatures. And being autistic provides a huge challenge to interacting our physical world and with our spiritual aspect. For me, it's sort of like you have all this power in you, all these connections, but your RAM is so like uh this is like a hamster in a hamster wheel situation. You have a motor, but the car but the but the inner parts is actually a hamster wheel. So you can imagine a hamster wheel going, zzz, you know. So so basically, spirituality is affected by our senses. So here's the thing: a reasonable deity will understand you and how you think, feel, and interact. A reasonable spirituality allows you to think, create, and adapt to order to learn and grow in your faith of journey. I hope these methods are useful for this purpose. Now, if you listen to senses of working over time, the lyrics go see, hear, smell, touch, taste. These are the five senses. So the basic senses. There's over other senses that I heard about that's related to that. The secondary senses, the more abstract part of it that's working all together. And and right now I'm just trying to 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 confine it to the see, hear, smell, touch, taste, basic. Now, gradually implement these things, especially when you obtain your materials for construction items. Your budget is very important, so I know that I'm an SSDI and I will gather a little bit of time to accommodate my budget. I'm trying to do crafts with decent materials that I will get in bulk at a discount. So a lot of stuff you'll see that I try or use or employ can be bought at a discount or on the internet easy. Can be easily sourced, or you can go to the nearest neighborhood depending on where you go to. Um, so here's the thing. So to see, now you make art. One of the things I like to do is to make art for holy space. When I was at Concordia University, Irvine, California, from 1997 to 2001, I was selected to do a senior project to do an art project, a banner, a senior banner, with beautiful paper art. It's a completely all sorts of paper, linen paper and tissue paper and thick paper and sewing and paper that's sewed, paper that's Asian paper, paper that's stuff that's made from dollar bills. I use illuminated manuscripts. I was inspired by the illuminated manuscripts of the 1700s and of the 1300s, the Middle Ages. I did calligraphy. I even visited a J. Paul Museum during that time. Always want to get as much in space is important. Always love a cozy space. And one of the things I like to do is to employ that in the tabernacle and beyond. And sight in our tradition is very important. We, the vestments has to be linen, not plastic. The flowers has to be fresh. So you can just smell. You have to make sure everything is fresh, not fake. And so and of course, likewise, we do the same thing for us. We can make a we one of the things I love to do is I help people construct a prayer book. So I usually would like to say you go to Walmart.com and you find these you can either go to the go expensive and go to the moleskin type books. They're like 20 bucks, but that's for hipsters. We're cheap asses. We're spiritual gangsters, and we're gonna go cheap ass today. And this is a nice little acid-free paper and blank pages. You can do dots too, so you can actually can guide. But you can but I have a but you can actually can write on a piece of paper and actually construct your own prayer book. And with that you also jot down notes and spiritual stuff in a prayer journal, and then you could transfer it here. This one here, it only cost me $3 at a pop shop, and you can write your notes here, journal a little bit. It's good to journal. I want you to journal and do and make your own prayer book. I know one of you guys have in our last session with me had was recommended had a shop, an Etsy shop, in which you make beautiful paintings. You can actually can do that. I want you to be inspired by your own tradition. Make your own art. You know, a little rent. I was a paint seller for Glidden paint for Crossmark. I was a vendor. I was a merchandiser. And I would go to 12 different Walmarts in Indiana, Ohio. And I was visiting a place called Columbia City, just west of Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I saw this back to school stuff. And I saw this pencil case. I was passing by the back to school stuff, going to the paint department, and I saw this plasticky thing. It says, Jesus is my BFF. You're probably thinking, I had a visceral reaction to it. I mean, yes, he is a friend, but I feel like, are you cheapening the experience, making this into an putting into an imported item, made some plastic, and then throw the damn thing away when the zipper's broken? Are you going to reduce the your deity into a commodity? And art, when it's mass produced, like the Thomas King Cod type stuff, the smiley face, Jesus love you type stuff, the stuff you buy at Christian bookstores, the knockoff cheesy t-shirts. I really want you to take your time and make your own religious art. I want you to make your own religious art. Buy the best items you can buy with your money, and surround. Just do what you can. I mean, make your art, put it around your room, and feel inspired by it. In fact, if you want something for the next level, you should come. You should have a space. The Christians call it the family altar. I have one myself. It has a picture of those who are departed, a Bible, a few saints. And I also have an incense burner. And that's a smell, but we'll go tell you about smell later. What I'm going to talk about now is about hearing. And hearing is a very tricky thing. To hear is hard. I have to say this. It is very hard for me to hear and process the words. When I was at the seminary, um, there was no microphones per se. It's just voices in the chapel. And one day I went to and I heard about say it was when this atrocity this tragedy, and I'm like, huh? And then I heard brr, 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 brr. After chapel, I went to the comments and I found out that the acoustics it blanked up the message that something happened at the World Trade Center. So I'm like, oh, great. Thanks a lot. Now I'm like now looking like a total ass because I couldn't find out what they say. So processing is not my strongest suit. Processing sounds. I like to see. I like so then one of the things that is hard is that when I listen, not only I process, I also have a running commentary in my head. So basically, so like Mystery Science Theater 3000 in my head, a bunch of smart asses, picking away. And and Martin Luther, the theologian, once said, the singing is like praying twice. You sing in your head, you sing in your throat, you sing. It's so like, and for me, I really don't want to lie to God. I will listen to the hymn and no singing. And if I feel like I'm seeing something that I found problematic, I'll be lying to him. So that's why I couldn't sing. The worst part of it is that Lutherans have this tendency to nitpick everything. We even have a diagnostic. One Lutheran pundit even have a diagnostic, a hymn diagnostic, and basically you had to ask the questions. How often Christ is mentioned? Is he the subject of the verbs? And what are the verbs? And basically you had to, and of course the goal of it is to analyze. Basically, you had to analyze every nitpicking sound, and listen to theology, and then saying, is this logically correct or is it not? And the worst part of it is in real time. So imagine this autistic a person coming into the church, and you're given the thing saying, now you're given this diagnostic, now I want you to listen to this and try to figure out what's correct, what's not correct, and add that to the autistic part. And I mean, it's just like, I really sing to even to this day. The worst part of it is that one time, so I went to church, and at this Lutheran church in Fort Wayne, Indiana. It's a traditional church. And one of the songs that they play is "What God's Ordained is Always Good." And when I saw that, I was reading it, I'm like, "Fuck no!" Image of human sufferings, religious trauma, very bad headspace. I just walked out of the church. I never had such a visceral reaction, and it made me sad that I couldn't enjoy the music without feeling like, is God trying to gaslight me? And that's why I really listen to music, except, I mean, except instrumental music preferred, and I like white noise. I like guided prayer. I like Latin music, but for me to hear is a very difficult time. So I usually would, what works for me is that I like the I like hearing people pray a mantra. In some places they call it mantra, but here we have a short prayers. You got the Hail Mary. I'm not a Catholic, so I don't use that. You could use the Glory Be, or even the Orthodox Jesus prayer. And the thing is, let me see what Donald Brent said. People, let me look at the chat. Always love the chat. Blast. Come on. I hate this thing. Okay.
I can tell you what I said. It was basically that a lot of us have a hard time navigating the kinds of situations you were describing with
Because of the
the
nitpicking. It's the
yeah.
nitpicking in the part that, I mean, that's the five senses. So I usually will say, so I usually will go to the pastor and say, hey man, I had trouble singing. I mean, I know it's not because of the devil trying not to sing with me, create my joy. It's because I have really bad baggage, really mind headspace. It's spiritual trauma. Autistic people have trauma, and don't be surprised if it dovetails into your spiritual aspect. And so basically what really helps me, a lot is when I recite a prayer, a short prayer. It's sort of like echolalia. The echolalia is comforting. And you can actually can use the echolalia aspect of being autistic to prayer. And of course, which brings me to the touch. We're going to skip the smell and go back to the touch. So I have this Anglican rosary I made myself. And you can go online, Google Anglican rosary, how to make it. I think Kings of Kings Episcopal Church, or say Anglican Church, and also the Episcopal Church Diocese of New Jersey has a great YouTube Anglican rosary thing. And the good thing about the Anglican rosary is that you can use it as it's versatile. There's flexibility. You could do the Jesus prayer. You could do the Our Father with it. You could do your own prayer. You can actually can say, "Have mercy on me. Have mercy on me. Have mercy on me," or "Peace, peace," or and there's this hyper focus, this tactility, the sound of clacking beads. Let me see if there's an audio for it. Oh, good, the audio. ASMR. See? And I even put hair on the thing. I even weaved the hair of Silver Charm in it. So you can actually and of course the good thing about these beading processes is that it only takes 30 minutes to make it. You could actually can make it into 30 within an hour or 30 minutes, depending on how well your fingers are nimble or not. You can also can look up malas and other sets. If you go look for malas, I recommend researching for guidelines regarding the type of material needed. So ask, ask. And and I want people, and I usually love to pray. So I usually make other sets and give it to other people. I ask people permission if I could touch their hands and squeeze their hands when I pray. I I put my arm on the person. I say, put my arm on your shoulder, and just be the presence. Sometimes the touch is only what you need. The hug, the hand holding. Sometimes the silent prayer makes the difference. Sometimes we don't need words or sound. Sometimes the gift of presence is important. And you want and something tactile, something tangible, like this set I gave I those simple rosary beads. You know, I gave a set to the Lieutenant Governor of Kentucky. I see her feeling many years ago, it was a very difficult time for her. Her the governor, her boss was being a horrible person, and she didn't like the way her workplace is. And she said, and she wrote on her Twitter that she had pray for her. She has dark forces afoot. And my autistic self feels like Joan of Arc. Did I dare tell her? Did I dare go up to her and give her a gift, telling her that she is not alone? And I risk it. I called the office. I explained to her aide. I gave her the rosary. In person, and it allows me to, and I wonder to this day How is she doing? How is doing? How the lieutenant governor is doing after she's done with her work in Frankfurt? She's probably in the army right now. Helping veterans. She's retired from the army, so she's going to be. So sometimes the touch aspect, the tactfulness, is a devotion. We can and it's free. Not the rosary, but the tactile, doing tactile presence. It's free. We don't have to spend money for it. Our ears and our mouths, our gifts of presence is our present. Don't let RFK tell you. Don't let Kennedy tell you that we're useless. We still have the gift of sound in here. I digress. Now let's talk about the smell. Smell, I remember prayer. I love the smell of a church. It smells beautiful. And I remember joining the Christian club in my high school. And I will pray with my mentor, who is my US government teacher. And the funny thing is that he smells like Old Spice, man. And I thought that's the smell of holiness. I thought, is that the scent of the anointing? No, man, it's Old Spice, man. So it's like, so I always am drawn to smells of woods, of incense. In fact, sometimes when I pray, I will light up incense and have my little incense burner. Only cost me about $20. A few years ago. It was imported from Russia, from an Orthodox shop. I was inquiring of going becoming Orthodox, but I changed my mind. I don't know. I had some issues, but one thing is the Orthodox always have a sense of touch, of using the senses. They always have the certain. They want to invite you in. They want you to feel like there's a certain space, a separate space from the profane outer space of the common life. And and incense is a beautiful way of transporting your mind into holy space. And if this is a bit too expensive, not to worry, the head shop will help you. You're probably thinking, how? First off, head shops have charcoal for the hookah. These hookah things are actually can be also be used for to put in the incense burner. You could go online and get incense burners. It has a little puck in it to hold. This is to hold the backy, and the little imprinted part. And also here to hold the incense in a thing, so you could just. But it's usually so. I find it quite hard to use. I try to use it a few times, but I find it very hard. And if it's too hard for me, I rarely use it. Except so if you can use it, hey, that's good. I'm unable to use it. So next best thing is, again, go to the head shop and get some incense. Get an incense stick. And there's some that may smell like old church, but if you're more of a Hinduish Eastern scent, you could try this Chadan scent by Ham, Hem. Incense is more than Nag Champa. You don't want to smell like exactly like a you want to you I want my room to smell like Augusto uh Confessio Augustano 1530, now Woodstock 1969, man. Or is it 1967? Point is that incense can come in many scents, many types, and you cannot go wrong, with using incense in your prayer. I mean, it's just now I want to give you a heads up. Digression. How many of you guys are white or European? Okay. This is for y'all. I'm an Anglican, so I'm with you guys too. Let me see. I don't do no all love towards you, Blast. I'm trying to go forward. 2 new messages. Okay, good. So here's the thing. I want you to honor the customs of the indigenous people. And when you buy incense, please don't buy white sage. Don't buy Palo Santo. Those things are endangered, um, um, and they're threatened this species. And and a lot of the practices practiced by the indigenous peoples are closed to us. I have Mexican ancestry on me on both sides of the family. However, I respect the culture because I do not operate according to those customs. So I respect by not using white sage. It's their practice. They honor them. They say no. I don't do it. I just say instead, what I do instead, if you really want to use and incorporate indigenous practices, ask an indigenous person to help you. Look no further than asking those to say, how can I honor the creator without using using practices that close out? And you'll be surprised. In fact, sometimes a simple clearing of the area, like when you clean out your house, will do great wonders, and you don't have to use closed materials. Sometimes a easy, clean sweeping of your area, establishing your holy space, that in itself is healthy. It's a good practice. And you don't have to sage or smudge your whole area. Just open the window and follow your practices, and just a little digression. And which brings you to this. Another thing that is also nice is smell is also incorporated in the anointing of the sick. And I have dealt with mental illness throughout my life. And it's only until I went to the Anglican church, I was talking to Father, my pastor. I said to him, dude, I am not myself. I have been dealing with suicidal tendencies. I am going to my doctor to get the right medicine. Can you help me? Can you pray for me? And he said, I got just the thing. So he got some consecrated oil and he prayed with me. He put the sign of the cross and I could just smell the oil. And I realized, yes, this is good medicine. This is so medicine. Knowing that somebody cared for me and just the smell that permeated me, saying, and it lingered. I could just remember putting back my toboggan, my beanie, and then not washing it because I could just smell the oil. And I realized I can pray. I can sub God's with me. I'm going to do the right things and seek more help, seek professional help. And if you ever have the opportunity to attend an anointing of the sick, if you're of the faith, do so. I do not know whether your other traditions allow that, but consider the scent, the olfactory sense, the senses. I think the Satanist LaVey mentions about the smell. So so you'll be surprised how much smell is will pop up. And I prefer, which reminds me, natural. I love the smell of natural. If you could find flowers to decorate your altar, that's beautiful. If you can go outside in the garden and smell and take place in the silence and meditate there and watch the complexity of the rose petals. I think you'll have a I think that'll be a good time you can do, you know? Which brings me to this. Taste. In my faith tradition, we have the sacrament. And this is my body, this is my blood. You know, we taste it. The taste of forgiveness. Now, in our individual devotion, we have what they call fasting and abstinence during Lent. Today is Good Friday, and Friday, my Anglican priests are fasting for 3 days. But I'm not doing it. Number one, I'm not clergy. Number two, know your limits. I want you to know your limits. In fact, what I do instead is that thank you, Miss. Happy Good Friday too. Thank you. And I aim for eating lacto-ovo vegetarian meals with seafood on Fridays. I will eat meat if offered, if like a cooked out. For me, meat is a treat, but I usually keep a vegetarian meal for myself. Now, the pitfalls of restricted eating, especially for autistic with dietary challenges and eating disorders. Now, if you keep about it, there are exemptions. The Muslims has the exemption for pregnant people. Ask your imam for details in your situation. Ask your, in fact, exemptions are noticed in most religions. I want you to, if you're going to do a fast or restrict your food or something like that, ask your clergy and then ask your nutritionist and say, hey, I want to follow. I want to be more disciplined in my senses, but I really don't want to trigger a dietary restriction. It's hard enough. So I highly recommend respecting your body restrictions and doing instead an act of mercy. And what if, instead of restricting our food, that we share and focus on gratitude instead? I receive this food with thankfulness and gratitude. What if we can give out morsels of peace? What if we share the taste, to share the flavor? And it has been said in Proverbs that it's better to feast with more to feast in quietude than to eat a morsel in quietude than to feast in strife. And I think hospitality should be our. I mean, I always love the concept of hospitality as a spiritual practice. Modest, generous. You want to you want to feel like you're feeding not just the physical part of saying vending machine, 32 coins, plop, chips come out. No. When you give somebody a meal in the name of God or in the name of the universe or whatever, you're feeding, not only you're feeding the physical aspect, you're feeding the spiritual aspect of the person. You know, it's like this cake and tea moment. My neighbor was upstairs knocking on the door one day. I was cleaning up my messy place. It was messy as hell. And he said, I got in a car accident. All my stuff is in the car. I'm injured. And he looks disheveled and all blanked up. And I'm like, he showed me a picture of his car. I said, this will buff out. But before anything else, let's sit down and get our mind together. Sit down, breathe. And as you breathe, let me fix you up a cake and tea. Would you like sugar with it? You know, and of course he takes it and I have him eat it. And I said, now, tell me what's the matter. And I listen. And I allow him, and when you feed somebody, you actually give people time. You serve others by giving a part of yourself. When you give hospitality, you give a part of yourself. You share the flavor. You share the sense of love and wonder. Is this delicious? Oh man, I'm glad you could share this moment with us. You know, it's just I'm very grateful for your presence. You know, and you want them to feel at ease. And to feel at ease in this quiet, safe space is very key. And so I think that's about it, but I want to give you a digression, another digression. Um, Five senses. The thing is that the last 5 years since COVID has seen an uptick of non-Abrahamic religious devotion, especially with decolonizing and rediscovering indigenous religion and culture. Now, the legalization and decriminalization makes it easier to partake of certain religious substances for reasons like ayahuasca, peyote, marijuana, and other things. But the thing is, in my perspective, and this is only my perspective, you cannot simply manipulate your senses or get high in order to achieve a religious experience. You have to do your homework. And there's some ethics you have to do about this. Number one, are you gonna listen to some guy, with the slick presentation of his sweat lodge, over in Malibu with 3 square meals a day and throat singing? Or are you gonna actually ask some guy, actually ask an actual indigenous priest or shaman for the indigenous people to do that? So watch out for the plastic shamans. Watch out for the slick back packaging. And watch out for justification of those experiences. I mean, the rich folk could afford ketamine therapy, but how come we couldn't? I don't like the idea of spirituality being for sale. Spirituality is not a commodity. And so always am very when you go have any religious experience, no matter what, be sure to listen to actual practitioners. There's also a difference in administration and medical oversight. Make sure that if he is a clergy with experience. No fly-by-nights. We had charlatans and plastic shamans selling tickets to the Split Lodge, where safety net afterthought. And they are actually got killed just because they figured they can able to be touching with their good side. I don't want your spiritual life to be endangered by those practices. I don't so basically big caution. For me, I would read theology books while chilling in the bed with a gummy. I will write various thoughts on my Facebook. I will rest. And the thing is that do I eat a gummy while I pray, or do I pray when I eat while I'm on a gummy? And of course, the thing is, what's the primary source? If you're making the gummy or the flour or whatever substance into the focus, you're missing the point of spirituality. You do not want I mean, you're looking at the miracle chemical factor. God does not expect you he doesn't want you to feel like you have to manipulate your senses in order to achieve this. These are tools, not the means to not the end, not the means to end. Don't justify that, tools. And if you're under the age of 25, hold off. Even the Song of Songs in Hebrew literature was restricted to marry men over 30 for study, according to what I've heard. You hold like that. You hold off of those things. You prepare. You consult, and most of all, please do not romanticize the experience so you have too high or unrealistic expectations. So having said that, that's all I can say about the five senses plus this going together. Now I'm gonna go open the floor and we'll chat.
You have such a beautiful way of putting things. I love the way that you communicate your ideas. Um, I won't say much because I'm guessing people have a lot to say, but I just wanted to thank you for sharing all of your perspectives and let people know again. Just wave in the screen if you want to take a turn, or use the hand raising icon, or put your comments in the chat for us to read out loud. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Hey, I want to say thank you guys so much. I know some of you guys left. Some of them came in for curiosity's sake. I know it's a bit personal. So thank you for trudging on for this. So there's 16 of us participants. So thank you to all 16 of y'all. Let's open up the mosh pit. Okay. Thank you, Carolina. You're welcome. I love how you bring the senses together with spirituality. Okay. Miss, what's the matter?
Hey, can you hear me? I just wanted to I just wanted to say thank you. I really enjoyed your presentation, and I just wanted to say I love the idea of making our own spiritual art. I always feel like my own apartment is my own altar. Like every room has its things, and I have a lot of things. Like I make kombucha, and that's a spiritual practice. That I like to have a little sip of my kombucha at night is a spiritual practice. And so the ritual aspect, I think, soothes my autistic mind. Like the ritual aspect of spirituality, maybe more so than actually believing in a entity necessarily, but almost like spirituality is my autistic brain being calm. So, so I
Yeah,
really enjoyed this. I just wanted to say thank you for really talking about the five senses and how we can create these kind of rituals for ourselves.
You're welcome. The thing is that your home should be your safe space, your sacred space. And you and your and this is your most, this is your armor, your spiritual armor, your inner armor, and it's going to help us during the next 4 years. Anything else?
I just wanted to mention that one of the things I really love about autistic spirituality is that I don't hear people deriding or minimizing other people's experiences. Like we know that there's something shared that binds us all, that has a sacred quality. Um, and we have so much respect, show each other so much respect about that. And you've done that too, and I appreciate it.
Well, Miss Dawn, the thing is that it has been an actual challenge for me to do that. If my 21-year-old confessional self were to see me today, she'll kick my ass. She is a very 21-year-old Carol was a very sad, depressed, doctrinaire Carol. Now I have been deconstructing, and is it and I still consider myself a Christian, and my life in the Anglican Church has helped me a lot. Made me feel much more mellow with other people. I think me being mellow towards people, even before I met the Lutherans, even before I met the Christian club, even I think my spirituality comes from my mama. You know, my mama is a cafeteria Catholic. She doesn't believe much, but she's an honorable woman, and I love her. She fed one time. There was a drunk guy that came up to us. Turns out that he wanted something to eat. So she went to the nearest taco shop on the same mini mall and bought some tacos for him. And he brought back his meal. I like actions. I admire the actions of people. I rather act. And the actions I see, I think autistic wise, we are more impressed with actions than the words of other people. Words can only can mask the real deal. Uh, Like I say, I mean the technology of words in language is relatively new. Even hell, even William the Conqueror can't read shite. And he was the king of England. And he was devoted. Yeah, so basically, I don't know what I was trying to say, but the whole point is we have a spiritual aspect that we cannot that cannot be ignored. And we don't need the certain it's accessible. I want you to access it, because if you don't access it, it'll hurt. Ourselves will be unmoored. I don't want to hurt people. I do not, and I want to respect people. You know, I want to respect you guys. I learned over the years that I do not want to hurt people. I'd rather, if, and I know God will understand if He knows why I do not jump at people's throats. I jump at people's throats, but there's times I'm like, he's human. I digress.
Not at all. I think that really sums it up. We don't want to hurt others. That's the bottom line. When you
We've
have
been
that in
hurt.
your heart, right? In your heart, that's the most important thing.
We've all been hurt from one way or another. I don't want to be responsible for somebody's spiritual life to be threatened or hurt or compromised. I do not want to cause any trauma because of my ego.
Brilliant. Does anybody else have some comments? They would, I saw some things in the chat, but they didn't say to read them. I don't want to assume, but anyone want to jump in before we
Okay,
close?
let me see. I'm looking through this. Um, hi.
Hi. I thank you, Carolina, because you reminded me of my African spirituality, and I'm preparing to do my life story on the 8th of May, and I've been struggling with how to be who I am transparently versus who I'm perceived to be, and so you reminded me that the African part of my spirituality in adulthood is far stronger than the missionary religious trauma and dogma that I was um, more immediately raised with. So I guess, as always, the larger environment took precedence over the immediate environment.
I'm just reading about that. Wow. So you actually lived during apartheid.
Um, well, until I was 13, we lived in Eswatini, and there was no formal apartheid. All through those years, Southern Africa was white, black, or colored, and colored was mixed people. And in Eswatini, on the surface, you would see very, very little discrimination or prejudice or anything, except if you found an occasional colored person. They were the scum of the earth, so to speak.
Oh
But
dear.
but then when at the time I was transitioning to high school, we moved to South Africa, and we were there in the height, the 1976 riots, and my dad was the only non-policing white person going into Soweto. So actually, we knew a lot more than our peers because we had to go to white schools, whereas in Swaziland we didn't have to. But we go to school with white peers, and it was bizarre because I knew immediately when we moved to South Africa what's wrong with this place. All these white people, this is not right.
Hmm. The thing is that I'm glad that you are keeping touch of your spirituality, and I'm glad you are listening to African voices and to keep in touch with them.
Yeah, I walked away from the systems I was raised in 30 years ago, and I have picked wherever I lived. I picked something off the wall, like an urban Mennonite church, or there's a large Brethren in Christ church that has a developmental needs sub congregation that is beautiful,
Oh, cool.
and it's the big church where all the LGBTQ people go. So
Nice.
I still have a faith tradition, but it's very, very, very different than I was raised.
And you know what? And it's okay. The thing is that is that we are products of what will of our traumas throughout the years. God understands that we will deal with those things, and that continue to serve, continue to explore it may be different. It might be different for most people, but it's your journey. You know, make the best of it. Explore, help.
It works well, except when most of my friends are pretty much similar to my persuasion, but I do have still a couple social media people who will talk about the current version of Christianity in national US that I decline.
Good. Put a boundary.
Yeah, for sure. Anybody else before we close? I don't want to miss anybody.
Okay. Take care, Miss.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here again. I'm sure we'll have you back. You have so many great things to say. I've been watching positive comments scroll through the chat the whole time, even if you didn't see them, they were there. People saying thank you and that they appreciate what you shared. So
Thank
thanks for
you.
being here today.
I want to give you a heads up, guys. You may contact me on Facebook. On Facebook is well, let me get my group chat thing. Shoot. God bless you, Miss. I wish I could chat, but I don't know how I could do that. But you could go online and go to Colonel Carolina Rutz on Facebook. COL Carol Rutz. Okay. Um, you also can email me at prejudices@gmail.com. That is PREDIGTAMT I also am on Blue Sky. I'll put the information over at the Cassie website. Pregatompt with a T on the end.
That sounds great. And of course, as usual, with any of the sessions, people can get a hold of you through us if they didn't catch the information.
Yeah, but let me see. I'm just trying to get the group chat here. Shit. Oh, blast. I don't know how to use it. Shoot. I'm trying to see. Here, go.
So down at I don't know if it looks the same for you, but down at the bottom, there's a line of
Okay.
icons: mute, stop video, participants. And the
Yeah, it's
next to
just
that
that
is
I'm not used to the blessed laptop. I always love my okay. And then let me go to get my Blue Sky. Here's my Blue Sky.
Auntie in Kentucky. That's your Blue
Altia in
Sky
Kentucky,
account?
and I'm Blue
Okay.
Sky. And also am in a mutual aid group called the Gallant Foxes, which is a neurodivergent mutual aid group. So it's a support group more than anything else. They're friends of mine over the years, and they're all neurodivergent. Send me send me a text if you're interested. We meet at Signal.
Great. And to remind people, you can also take a screenshot if you want to have that information right at your fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I will say thank you one last time, and we'll see you soon, I hope, and take care, be safe out there. We're in this together.